At Con-Am, we implemented LRO last year, about the same time. We decided to go with a pilot of 8 communities, and we ran that through February.
We've been using Revenue Management LRO at Resource Residential for a year and a half now, since February of 2009.
Walton brought on our first 3 communities onto LRO beginning of May of this year, so real new.
We actually started with a simplified revenue management beginning of this year in January. We actually rolled on to LRO itself. We took 54 properties live in 60 days, and that began May 1st and ended June 30th.
Larimer's been on revenue management and LRO specifically for about 3.5 years. We started off with a pilot of 5 or 6 properties and now have rolled out to our entire portfolio. So we've been live for about 2.5 years on everyone now.
Well, we've been on LRO for approximately 3+ years for at least part of the portfolio, and we have most of the portfolio on LRO now.
Waterton has been on LRO for about a year and a half.
We've been using revenue management in one form or another for about 6 years now at Equity.
We were actually one of the early adopters and started piloting it back in 2006 and went with full deployment in around 2008.
Well, for us, it was pretty much a no-brainer. We decided that we weren't satisfied with pricing our apartments by gut or by emotion, that we really needed something that gave us statistical reasons as to why pricing should change. And that's, in our business, we're in the fee management business, so we owe it to our clients to be on top of everything and provide the best possible service, and that includes pricing.
We decided to implement revenue management at this point because it just allows us to be a little more proactive, and we feel like it provides our pricing to be more effective in the market. We can react to changes in the market and really will help us alleviate making any emotional decisions and dropping our rents too low, and giving us a chance to raise our rates in periods of time where we felt maybe in the past there wasn't that opportunity.
We decided to go with revenue management right now. One, we'd had just other folks in the industry that we knew had been using it. We'd been watching it for a while, and I think just the realization of where rent levels are, they're a little bit lower than we would prefer them to be, and we feel like the market is starting to recover, and we wanted to be really try to lead our markets and bringing it back, becoming more offensive in our pricing and less reactive to just what everybody else was doing.
We decided to go with revenue management now for a couple of different reasons. One, we have a firm belief in the process and that it works. 2, we've squeezed expenses to the point where really the only ability to capture more revenue was going to be on the income side versus trying to cut expenses and manage NOI any more effectively.
Larimer's always been pretty forward-thinking and tries to be up on what's new in the market. So LRO, all of our executives have had some experience in kind of prior careers, so they were confident in the product. Did a pilot at Larimer, obviously, and the results spoke for themselves. We had almost a 4% lift, so making the decision to implement it all the properties was pretty simple.
Well, we decided to go with revenue management using LRO because it allowed us to make more consistent and timely and effective pricing decisions differentiated at the unit type level.
Well, really, it all came down to results, and LRO had proven results through independent auditors. The system works.
I think the leaders of our organization understood early on that in order to compete in a very competitive marketplace, we needed to have a process in place where we could capitalize on market opportunities as they presented themselves.
Back in '06, we had a couple of peers that were reporting some really good numbers. They were even earlier adopters than us, and they were peers that we trusted, that we knew they knew what they were doing. So as a result of that, we started piloting it ourselves and experimenting with it, and just on a very small scale basis, and saw some very encouraging results from that. Expanded the pilot even further, saw even more encouraging results, and then went full deployment from there.
We made the decision to go with LRO as a company basically for 2 reasons. Number one is the integration with MRI, which is our operating system. It just makes sense to make it as easy as possible for the end user, which is our community manager. and not fumbling through a non-integrated system, it definitely makes a difference. By the way, we run the other competitor in our shop as well. And so we had firsthand opportunity to run those products side by side. They're both great products. They're different. And we felt like LRO was the way for us.
We chose the Rainmaker group because when we sat down and really looked at what the company had to offer, they seemed to be the most customer focused, and we're going to do what it took to progress the product into the future and make it the best tool out there.
As we were weighing the different factors and the different options for revenue management, one, friends in the industry that we knew, we just had a better knowledge of what LRO did. But as we looked at competitors who also that we were in our same markets that were using other products, we saw, and even just talking to those competitors that were using those, the price volatility of some of the other software packages gave us a little pause. It was there were pretty dramatic swings in prices that we saw, and we liked more of the stability that LRO gave. Incremental changes to up or down was more comforting to us coming on initially, and the fact that it was revenue driven, not occupancy driven. I think as we compared both, we were really trying to push revenues at different properties, and that just made more sense to us.
Now after listening to both the presentations from the top two competitors, we went out and we physically visited 140 different communities in 90 days. Found anybody that we could on site who used the tool for revenue management and asked them what they thought of the tools. What it really came down to was we approached it as the site teams are the ones who have to present the product, they have to sell the product, so they have to trust and believe and be able to use the products. And what they came back hands down with was their favor of LRO versus the other competitor product.
Again, our executives that had experience with both products, they seemed to like LRO better, so we did just go ahead and make the decision to use LRO based on past experiences with it, and then again, the pilot program really proved its results to us. So
We selected LRO as a revenue management tool based on a pretty formal pilot process. And during that pilot, what we discovered is that our LRO cohort of communities actually had more incremental revenue gain than our control cohort. And that was our number one reason for selecting LRO.
Revenue lift that definitely beat our expectations.
Our track record in terms of history in other industries, and as well as just in our own industry, and we just felt more comfortable with the product.
We actually made the decision to go with LRO based on the logical, consistent process and methodology that the LRO software gave us versus some of the other products that we looked at. We really thought that the process and the math behind the model was superior to any other product that we had looked at.
I would say if someone's on the fence and not really ready to make that decision or needs a little push over the edge, it's really simple. You need to do it. It's one of those things that has brought discipline to our organization in a different way. We look at those factors, we look at the same 4 factors each week. It provides a continuity to and structure to our pricing calls, and it's something that really everyone should have been doing a long time ago.
To a company that was still on the fence for implementing LRO and revenue management in their company, to me it really comes down to, do you want to be a leader or a follower? Do you want to take that, join the new trend in the industry, in multifamily industry, and be part of something new that's helping us all increase our revenues, or do you want to sit back and watch us all get better? So do you want to be a leader or a follower?
If I was talking to somebody that was considering revenue management and they weren't on it right now, my background was being on site. I've been on site for 6 years, and I would just ask them, who's determining what your rents are today, and how comfortable are you with them making that decision? We had some on-site managers who were really dedicated and focused on that. We had others that were very reactive, and it was you weren't getting a consistent pricing methodology depending on which property or which region you were going to. So I would just ask how are you comfortable with the way you're determining your rents right now? And we were not.
Have them ask themselves, do they feel that emotional on-site teams can price better than a non-emotional tool? You think about the stock market, most people, they do their fundamental analysis and use technical analysis for when they go in. You know, we've already done our fundamental analysis and picking the properties, picking our site teams. The technical analysis is the revenue management tool that makes it more profitable for you.
I would ask them why, just simply why. I mean, a number of companies have done a lot of results and a lot of different reports on the effectiveness of revenue management. You know, the results are out there, the revenue lift is out there. But not only that, there's so many other values that LRO adds as far as lease expiration management. It manages your seasonality for you. It does your renewals for you. So it really allows your on-site staff to focus on their marketing and their resident retention, kind of their core skills, as opposed to pricing. So I would just basically ask any property management company that hasn't decided to use revenue management, why not? You know, the results have spoken for themselves.
Well, I think what I would tell a professional who's procrastinating on using revenue management is the market is fairly dynamic, and what LRO does is it actually acts as a catalyst to enhance performance, differentiated again at the unit type level, and is particularly helpful during inflection points in the real estate cycle. So it catches that a lot quicker than a human would.
One is that you'll be surprised on how your site teams will truly embrace the revenue management system. There's a lot of day-to-day responsibilities on the site team's plate, and they're looking for a process to help them with those day-to-day responsibilities. A revenue management system does just that and provides that process.
I guess I would ask them 3 questions. Do you want to ensure control of the number one factor in maximizing your revenue? Because pricing is the number one factor. And without a revenue management system, you don't have as complete control as you need to have when the function is localized at the property level. I would also ask them, do they want to ensure that the corporate strategy that they're trying to implement across all of their properties, don't you want to ensure that you can do that in a quick and timely manner? And without a centralized revenue management system or process, there's really not a way to ensure that that happens across all properties consistently and equally.
I would say if you're still on the fence and considering revenue management, do your homework. It's a major change in your culture and the way that things are done. Start with, people like us that have been on it for several years, many other examples of other REITs and other property management companies that have significant positive results. Look at the white papers, put it in pilot and try it for just a few properties, and look at it on your give it a good tryout. The numbers are there. I mean, back when we implemented back in '06, it was still a little vague as far as what the true performance that you could expect from this. But here we are now. Many companies have implemented it. Over 1 million units are on it. Plenty of historical analysis to look at to see if it works or not.
At ConAm, we define success in terms of revenue management as the structure, the quality it brings to our organization from a pricing standpoint, that we can then turn that over to our owners, our clients, for whom which we service. So success is not only in the monetary, which, the rent lifts, which, we're still in the pilot early stages here, but also just in the structure. We think that it's a good disciplined approach to use statistics rather than emotion to price apartments. After all, if you're not going to use it, the only thing you're leaving on the table is revenue.
We measure success with revenue management LRO at Resource Residential. I think the obvious answer is increasing our revenue. But I think other is really understanding our markets, understanding our competitors, know what our customers are valuing today in the market. So really just a good understanding of, not only just the market, our competitors. I think all of that will increase our revenue over time.
Now that we've implemented revenue management, will we ever go back? The answer to that is a firm and solid no.
The success with LRO at Larimar has been our close to 4% revenue lift, first and foremost. The other kind of contributing factors to LRO and what we think makes it a success is it has enabled our property managers really to focus more on our residents. on resident retention, on marketing to new prospects. They don't have to busy themselves with changing pricing every day or every week like they did prior to us having LRO. So that's added a lot of value kind of at the on-site level. They've been able to focus their energy on more of their skill set and things that impact our residents specifically.
Well, I think one would be more objective and the other would be a more subjective metric. Objectively, what we're trying to do is we're trying to drive better year-over-year revenue results and better results to our projected budgets, for instance. On the subjective side, I think with revenue management, it offers choice to our customers. And that has been a huge customer service incentive for us, being able to offer more flexibility to our customers.
We measure success really with the lift what we're seeing on the revenue. We're also looking at the business process and how our site teams are accepting the process of revenue management.
Really, our biggest measurement is how we perform relative to the REIT peers in our markets on revenue growth. Revenue growth is important to us, and we need to make sure we consider ourselves successful when we are either equal to or leading our peers in revenue growth in our various markets.